Here at the British Motor Yacht Show, our first port of call this morning is the Fjord 38 Open. Now, we all know what Fjord boats are about. They're about serious day boating. Take a look at this, and what you see here is essentially a bloodline that remains consistent right throughout the Fjord range. This is the smallest boat in the range, but it's a very erudite mouthpiece for what Fjord's all about. And let's step straight on board at this aft end. You see we've got a wide open transom, symmetrical layout, walk around decks, deep walk around decks, lovely elevated gunnels there, keep you nice and secure. We've got this nice thick rail built into that with plenty of room to get your fist on. Really heavyweight, feels great, and this is natural teak, as is the deck actually, all the way forward. Natural teak wherever you look here, the table as well, natural teak there. But if we start at the aft end, what we have here is a boat that majors on ease of movement, majors on style, and majors on day boating entertainment. So we have gates on both sides to keep the kids safely in that cockpit. We also have speakers right along here. We've got quite a high-end Fusion sound system. And because the speakers are located on these bulwarks facing inwards, I'm told by the guys here that you can make quite a tremendous racket on board the boat, but not really annoy anyone on neighbouring boats. We also have the transom shower back here with the mixer tap, nicely done in stainless steel. You see the shore power cable here as well. That leads quite a long way forward, as you'll see. To this point recessed here beneath the gunnels, just after these squared off fenders. That in itself is a nice touch. It avoids circular fenders sticking out into the side deck and obstructing your progress fore and aft. But this shore power is located quite a long way forward, because beneath this deck in the forward part of the engine bay we have all the electrical systems, so that makes decent sense in its own right. And because we've got twin access aft, there's no reason at all to find the cable there obstructive in any way. Let's pop back over to the port side and take a look at this central dinette. Now, we see this on a lot of boats of this kind, but this is particularly versatile. You can drop this central table down into this spot between these two benches and use an infill cushion to create a nice big sun pad. You can also drop these backrests, twin backrests that operate independently. You can drop them down to extend that sun pad out over this aft platform. And you can also drop these backrests here forward, so that you've got an enormous sun pad that goes all the way basically from this transverse wet bar right aft over that swim platform. And because we have quite complicated hinges down here, you can also simply reverse these backrests, so you can use this aft bench as an aft facing bench and look out over this swim platform. It's a very versatile sort of setup. And similarly, you could take these forward benches, reverse their backrests, and have forward-facing seats for, I would say, well, up to 8 people in the cockpit, plus another 2 up there at the helm. So 10 forward-facing seats after the helm. That's quite a neat trick. Down in this engine bay, if I just jump straight down, although actually we have an integrated ladder there for exactly that. We've got a good central bit of checker plate there. It's a good space to access your engines, and in this case, the test boat, we have a pair of D4 320s. You can also spec it with D4 270s for around about 30 knots, but according to the guys here, with this rig, they managed to get around about 42 knots out of it, which is pretty impressive for a boat of this scale. Now, down in here, we also have a hot water tank there, and of course a battery on either side there. Good bit of space. There's a nice big aperture. The lid opens very wide there, and if we look forward through this hatch, it's currently full of show gear, which is not brilliantly stowed at the moment, but let me tell you, this space under here is absolutely vast. We've also got some electrics in here, some master volt gear, plus in the forwardmost part we've got a diesel heater. So there's loads of space, and of course this boat doesn't just have inboard options. You can spec it as the Express model with twin outboards, either 300s or 350s for similar performance, around about 40 knots or so. The helm is pretty comfortable too, quite pared back, but certainly premium feeling. Because of that galley arrangement, I should say the wet bar arrangement, there's no fore and aft movement on these seats, but you do get the bolsters plus an armrest in the centre there. You also get little vents for the diesel heating down by your feet, plus a bar to perch your legs and a rather beautiful 6-spoke Fjord steering wheel. All the important stuff is readily available to your right hand here, the twin throttles, the joystick control, an option of course, and the bow thruster, plus a remote for your twin MFDs. Set of cup holders, bit of switch gear, and a wireless phone charger. You also have a grab rail here to make your way towards the side deck on the port side or down below. And we've got a one-piece screen with no stanchion, so visibility is fantastic. And of course, as it does wrap around that right angle, it does slightly warp your vision, but not substantially. It's a great view, and the hardtop's pretty impressive too. If we look up, you'll see we've got skylights built in here, additional skylights further aft there, so you can actually see when you turn to port. We've also got rather stylish inset lighting all the way around, plus additional spotlights, and it's all held up by these big heavy duty aluminium bars. So what else do we have here? Well, we've got a good size of transverse wet bar, but it's not quite as generous as you imagine, because of course the two helm seats are recessed into it. They come quite a good way back into those mouldings, and that's actually quite a sensible compromise, because of course what you want to do here is maximise cockpit space. This is after all a dedicated day boat, and they've done exactly that, so it makes good sense. There's still room though on this port side for a proper sink, and beneath that a really good size of fridge with a bottle of Amarone in it. Good taste, whoever owns this boat. Now, if we look a little way aft, you'll see there's an additional fridge there on the port side of that dinette, and another on the starboard side, drawer fridges. Plus, if we look further forward, there's a fourth fridge, a good size of fridge down there to port of those steps. So there's certainly no shortage of places to chill your drinks. And if you want to cook, even though there's no cooking facility here at the wet bar, the standard option is to go for a barbecue that slots into the rod holders here, so you can barbecue your meat overboard and enjoy a meal without messing up your beautiful boat. Now let's make our way forward up onto that foredeck, and I say up because although freedom of movement is very good here, there is a tiny little step up. I mean, it's only about half a thumb, about an inch. I can't imagine that actually adds much in the way of volume down below, but it does introduce a trip hazard, which is not ideal. Either way, let's move forward onto this bow and take a look at that. A couple of windows in the sides of the mouldings there for natural light down below. When we get up here, we've got another really generous day space. This bench here, forward facing, could accommodate at least 3-4 people, I would have thought. And then we have another deep set C-shaped seating area here. And it really is deep. You feel very secure, very much contained up here. It's absolutely a place you'd let the kids go and have a drink on their own, chill out and look at the view without worrying about it. We also have another rather lovely teak table that drops down into the space, and with an infill you can turn that into an additional sun pad forward. So that's very handy. And we also have more holes recessed into the deck here so that you can pop struts in there, erect your sunshade, and that will lead all the way aft to the leading edge of this screen here. So you've got shade for that entire forward section. So that's very, very handy. Really good stuff for a day boat. We also have another unit for the Fusion stereo, so you can operate the tunes up here. No shortage of speakers either, as you'd expect on a day boat. But when you have a bow space as generous and usable as that for day boaters, you do tend to fear for what it does to the volume down below. And this Fjord 38 Open, in line with the rest of the fleet, does offer a degree of weekend-in accommodation. So let's pop straight down and have a look at that. More lovely teak lining here, quality joinery all round. It's a nicely put together boat. There's a atrium that you step into with decent headroom there, really decent, and decent light as well from those windows we noticed on that port side deck. We have our various electrical systems here, just a port of the door, and lower down we've got a very neatly integrated oven there, plus that fourth fridge we were talking about. And further forward there, in the V of the bow, is the double bed, and that is a good footprint, I have to say. As you can see, where the foredeck really kicks in, the deck head drops significantly. So you can't really sit up in bed unless you want to jam yourselves into one of these corners. But it's a comfy bed, it's a good footprint. There's plenty of shelving for storage. We've got nice soft liners on either side for your shoulders. And while they put the pillows up there in the lowest part of the boat, I suspect a lot of people will choose to use the aft section as the head end, just for a bit of extra space and light. If I step back a little though, we also have a pretty serviceable heads compartment here. This incidentally is the chestnut finish, chestnut veneer on ply, and that's really quite classy. Not too dark at all, doesn't feel in the slightest bit oppressive down here. Mirrors, of course, help bounce the light around a little. And there we've got a nice big opening porthole onto that side deck. More quality timber here everywhere you look. It feels quite classical in that regard. And then a toilet on that aft bulkhead. Good headroom in here. And a little pull-out shower unit so you can use it as a wet room. That's perfectly decent. Nice fabrics on these walls too, it just softens the thing. There's not too much naked fiberglass around here. Little soft panels everywhere you look, little bits of texture. So it works very well, it feels very premium. So this boat really is very pleasant. It's exactly what we've come to expect of Fjord. You know, there are other brands doing this sort of thing, certainly the likes of Pardo, and more recently the likes of Schaefer, the Brazilian brand, now brought into the UK by Gibbs Key Marine Sales. Now the price for this rather delightful day boat is around about £600,000 including VAT for the typical spec package. The show boat is around about £650,000 including VAT because we have a custom hull colour, additional canvases, we have the diesel heating and various other options spec'd by the owner. And of course on this model you can go for the express variant with the outboard engines, in which case you open up a vast cavity of storage beneath that aft deck that's perfect for your water sports gear, for your wakeboards, for your stand-up paddle boards and so on. But the thing is, with those top-rated D4-320s under that aft deck, this boat is already achieving around about 42 knots, and it's also achieving much better fuel efficiency than you'll ever get from a pair of outboards. Apparently a fast cruise will return around about 3 litres per nautical mile, and with a 600 litre fuel tank, that gives you a pretty useful range for a day boat. Now, as I say, this is the smallest boat in the Fjord fleet, and there are loads of other alternatives on the modern day boat in market, but with that lovely big versatile aft cockpit, with this excellent bow space, with deep secure accommodation, and with oodles of style and quality everywhere you look, this 38 remains a seriously attractive package.